I want to start with late night. And probably the best way to begin is maybe with this clip of David Letterman, who's offered his analysis of Stephen Colbert, not just Stephen Colbert being eliminated, but actually the entire Late Show franchise being eliminated. So if it's all right, Adam, I'm going to play this clip of David Letterman reacting to everything that's happened and get your reaction on the backside. This is S4.
Don't know that. These guys are bottom feeders. That's exactly what this is. Of course they know that broadcast television is withering. Yeah. So now they just want to make sure on top of buying something that doesn't have the same value as it had 30 years ago, they don't want to be hassled by the United States government. So they want CBS to take care of all of that mess.
Yeah,
we'll get rid of him for you. Don't. I think this at one day, if not today, the people at CBS who have manipulated and handled this are going to be embarrassed because this is gutless. I only wish this could happen to me. This would have been so great for me.
Yeah, this would have been unbelievable.
Yeah, now we all got to walk around. We got to kiss Stephen Colbert's ring now.
Okay, Adam, do you think the people behind the cancellation of the late night or the Late Show and Stephen Colbert's tenure on late night will one day find themselves, quote unquote, embarrassed by the decision?
No, I don't really think anyone in show business, they don't get embarrassed by sex tapes. They make money off it. You know, it's hard to embarrass showbiz folks. It's like embarrassing divorce attorneys or something. Like, you know, how can you live with yourselves? Like, what do you mean? I love me, you know? So no, there's not going to be embarrassing them. You know, I used to work for a living in the construction field, and it was always really, no matter how long I've been in show business, I can't get over like when Conan was pissing and moaning about being promised the 11:30 slot, and he's angry because he always wanted to do that. Like, it's like saying, I always wanted to play shortstop for the Yankees, and now I'm pissed. It's like, well, sorry, it's a very limited job. You're getting millions of dollars from these people to work in the evenings, and I'm just old fashioned. I don't really care who you are. It doesn't, if it's Jon Stewart, who I think of as a friend, or Colbert, or Letterman, or Conan, or anybody. Like, I don't know, when you're getting paid millions of dollars by an entity, it's their prerogative to do whatever they want. And, and you're not owed anything, and they didn't gyp you. And, you know, really think about the optics of making $20 or $30 million a year and then playing the victim to, you know, the people who watch you's average income is $49,000 a year. You know, it's just, I'm maybe old school, but I do believe if you employ somebody, you're allowed to fire that somebody. And you don't have to explain to them why, and you don't have to talk about the politics of it one way or the other. You cut the checks, you're done cutting them checks in 6 months or whenever it is, and that's your prerogative. And the people that got rich off it should shut up.
Well, okay, so speaking of another person who got rich off of it, but who I think actually maybe has a better take here, this is Jay Leno. Want to get your reaction to this one. This is S6, Jay Leno kind of talking about how different the format of late night is now. And, you know, I don't think he mentions Stephen Colbert directly here, but they're clearly doing a sort of, I call it monoculture versus microculture. Carson had, and we have a Carson clip too, but Carson had just a much bigger slice of the public to appeal to. And I think Jay Leno here is lamenting that people now are appealing to smaller niches. So let's go ahead and play S6.
It's funny to me when I got hate letters from, damn it, you and your Republican friends. Well, Miss Lyon, I hope you and your Democratic buddies are happy. Over the same joke. And I go, well, that's good. So that's how you get a whole audience. Now you have to be content with half the audience because you have to give your opinion. Why shoot for just half an audience all the time? You know, why not try to get the whole? I mean, I like to bring people into the big picture. I don't understand why you would alienate one particular group, you know, or just don't do it at all. I'm not saying you have to throw your support or whatever, but just do what's funny.
Okay, so Adam, one question I have for you, because you'll know the dynamics better than I do for sure, is now one reason actually people alienate half of their audience is because so many fewer people are watching in general that it's easier to sell ads to a loyal group of people rather than trying to bring in a giant piece of the pie because everyone has so many different choices. Do you think that's what's going on here, or is there something else happening?
I don't know what the dynamic is behind a lot of stuff. Like, I can't tell if it's just a personal preference thing or it's a overt, attempt to make money. I personally have just always sort of said what I wanted to say, and I never really thought much about who was angry or who was listening or anything. I mean, every comedian says that, but I think some probably don't. I think Colbert and any late night comedian, and by the way, news anchors used to be this way, and Sunday show anchors used to be this way, and reporters used to be this way. They felt there was a kind of a thing in our society in general where you were a little bit stoic about things. There's no Pedro Pascal talking about all his emotional difficulties he's having. Because
was he not stoic?
Yeah, you want to call a guy a pussy, right? And thrown him off the ship. Like, well, what I'm saying is there isn't, I'm just sort of thinking this out in real time, but it wasn't about late night and it wasn't about politics. It was in general. If I'm having issues at home or I'm issue with my children or whatever, that's our business. That's like our family business. I'm not going to take to some Twitter that didn't exist back then, but, write op-ed pieces and stuff talking about how much I hate my daughter or something, or my son's transitioning or something. It was like, there was a decorum. It's like people used to dress to go on an airplane, and so late night show hosts, news anchors, news reporters, doctors and lawyers weren't going to oblige and let you know how they felt about everyone all the time. If you brought up a Trump-like character, in the 60s, then Jack Parr would have said, well, not exactly my cup of tea, but I'm sure some people find him amusing, or something snarky and a little underhanded. But then when you yell, fuck Trump, and start screaming it over and over again into a camera lens, So it's like there was a decorum. And we didn't know what Johnny Carson thought politically because he didn't want us to, because he didn't believe, just like whatever marital issues he was having or situations at home, that wasn't our business. He was there to entertain us, and we weren't there to know everything about him. And now we've gone into some realm where these people have to be more than talking heads who entertain us. They have to be our friends and our, co-sponsors. And so they're going to start talking about things that they never would have talked about that were personal. David Letterman famously had his whole heart situation and a medical scare, and he got out there and came to tears and was talking about the surgeons that saved him and stuff. And it was a moving moment. But Johnny Carson wouldn't have done that because that wasn't for us, and it wasn't comedy. He was doing the comedy. That was him. That was his doctor. So I think in general, it's just a lot more sharing going on. And I think if it's, the ladies from The View or a late night show, I think we're going to know how they feel about politics nowadays. There's no more of that. And I don't know that people want to go back to those days where we had no idea. Hell, a guy could be gay for 50 years and be on TV every day. No one knew it. That guy's a bachelor and he's 74 years old.
Well, we knew David Letterman wasn't gay. Let's roll this clip of Johnny Carson.
He had a room. Yeah.
Let's roll Johnny Carson. This is S5. He was being interviewed actually by Mike Wallace. And this sort of gets to, I think, the sentiment that used to drive the entire late night ecosystem. So this is S5.
Do you get sensitive about the fact that people say he'll never take a serious controversy?
Well, I have an answer to that. I said, now, tell me the last time that Jack Benny, Red Skelton, if any comedian used his show to do serious issues. That's not what I'm there for. Can't they see that?
But you're not.
Why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? That's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And you know, strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer.
Adam, there it's almost eerie how accurately he describes what Stephen Colbert has become, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, I mean, sadly, there's a lot of, look, I wrote a book 15 years ago called 50 Years Will All Be Chicks, and basically happened in 12 years. So, I mean, there's lots of tape, lots of books, lots of KGB agents from the 80s explaining what they're going to do to the American mind. And you go, but that's what we just did. That was COVID, you know? So there's a lot of prescient stuff out there. I agree. On the other hand, it's your show and it's got your name on it, and you should be able to say what you want. And then once you say what you want, you should be prepared for any consequences that may arise from saying whatever you want. So I think that's the stage we're at. I don't feel like Colbert's been victimized, and I don't feel like this is anything other than what shall be when you just do what you want to do. I mean, personally, as long as stuff is funny, that's the bar that it needs to clear for me. Sometimes stuff just turns into something else, like activism or something.
Mm. Yeah, let's put this Trump post up. This is F1. This was a Truth Social from last Tuesday. He said the word is, and it's a strong word at that, Jimmy Kimmel is next to go in the untalented late night sweepstakes, and shortly thereafter, Fallon will be gone. These are people with absolutely no talent who were paid millions of dollars for, in all cases, destroying what used to be great television. It's really good to see them go, and I hope I played a major part in it. Let's also then put up Kimmel's response. This is F2. He said, I'm hearing you're next, responding to Trump, or maybe it's just another wonderful secret, alluding, of course, to that Wall Street Journal report that Donald Trump said something about a wonderful secret in a Jeffrey Epstein birthday book, which is something that sounds like a Mad Lib. But Adam, did you predict that Kimmel would become a chick this quickly?
Well, first off, can we leave poor Jimmy Fallon out of this? That guy just does impersonations, does a great Bruce Springsteen, plays the acoustic guitar.
It's true.
I mean, I don't know how he got balled up in this whole mess. I don't know that Fallon's ever done anything political. Jimmy is always been feisty, I guess would be the, when we were taping the Man Show once, he literally almost punched a guy in like the front row, kept telling him to shut up or something. The guy, like, I don't know, the guy was probably drunk or something. And I was like, it's gonna be a lawsuit. I don't know.
So you were the chick in that situation.
I was the chick in that situation. Jimmy hates Trump. Trump hates Jimmy. Jimmy's pretty alpha-y. Trump's pretty alpha-y. I realize there's a lot of alpha on alpha battles going on. You know, us betas are just popping the popcorn and sitting back and watching.
Letting the alphas go at it.
It's weird. I like Trump and I like Jimmy. Like I know them both. Obviously, I know Jimmy a lot better. They're both exquisitely different, but you know, there may be some of the same kind of alpha componentry somewhere lurking in both of them. And you know, the thing about Jimmy is my daughter's working for him right now. I mean, not at the show. She's on it doing his lawn, but no, she's at the show, and he's treated me and my family and my kids especially like you know, precious gems his whole life. He's always been generous with me. He's always been good with me. So I cannot summon any negative words about Jimmy Kimmel. I don't agree with everything that comes out of his mouth, but I didn't agree with everything that came out of his mouth when we shared an office together for all those years. But I've always loved Jimmy, and I've always felt indebted to Jimmy. And I like Trump as well. And there is probably some universe somewhere where those two avatars could have a beer and have a laugh, but not today.